All right. Good evening, everybody. It is me, Brian. So we are going to cover a bunch of stuff tonight in chart school. Let me see if you guys should be able to hear me here. Hold on. In chart school. There we go. Yeah, you can hear me. I'll just do a quick sound check for you guys. I can hear myself through a second browser, but let me know that you guys can hear me okay as well. Give a second for you guys to catch up on that one. Like I said, there's a little bit of a delay. Oh, I do have to change it. It's not Thursday anymore. It is Monday. There you go. Cool. What's up, Parker? What's up, Ernest? Good. Awesome. All right. So tonight's kind of cool. So I have something. It's so funny. We watched some of Jin's. Now that you guys know that Jin is walking now, so like we try to like keep her distracted. She's not super into electronics yet. Like my two boys, it was kind of like ooh, it was like mesmerizing, but Jin is just not into them as much. So kind of have something interesting to show you guys before we dive into the charts, and we'll see if we can get through enough of the charts to kind of come back to it. But I won't have time to actually look at the whole statement tonight. So let me kill this. Here's the good old forex factory. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. There we go. All right, so first thing first, okay? Let's take a look at this 24-hour pip change right across the board here. Give you guys a poll. Does it look like it was a big day or a small day worth of movement? I'll let you guys answer that one. I will have to put the poll up here eventually. There's so many cool things you can do, especially with Twitch, with polls and things. I got to finish getting them all installed. I got the giveaway stuff on there, but don't have the giveaway yet. Anyway, you guys can see this across the board. I mean, the pound is the biggest mover in here, and again, you see pound on both sides. And this is what we've been calling for a week now, 2 weeks now. Feels like 2 weeks, but I feel like it's only been a week that we've been calling for this pair to be getting some movement, and it's moving, but it's still pound weakness. It's not pound strength, and we actually want pound strength. So not moving the direction we want, but at least it is some movement. But for the most part, you guys will see it's a pretty shy day. And again, I didn't expect it to be big. If any of you were on the Nadex session this morning, I was saying there really wasn't a whole lot of news releases today. I think tomorrow is when the market's really going to start kicking off. Maybe tonight for this Aussie monetary policy meeting notes, and I'll tell you why in a second. But you guys didn't see it's pretty flat across the board. I mean, U.S. dollar or dollar yen was 11 and moved in 24 hours, 8, 21. I mean, again, there was some, bounces back and forth, but really nothing just kind of stands out here as being major movers, right? So yeah, pretty small day again. Monday, not surprised, in the summertime. August is when we'll start picking back up again. We got about 2 more weeks of kind of the slowness, and then we should start getting some, some movement around. Hopefully, gets back up. But the reason why I'm showing you this, first off, is because we have this 9:30 release, this monetary policy notes, okay? Now, it's always good to look at multiple sources. Some people rate things high, some people rate things medium, but when you go over to Daily FX, look what they have sitting right here. First thing that they're talking about, right? It should be plenty big enough you guys should be able to see this, but it talks about the Aussie USD rate to target May high on Les Dovis RBA minutes, okay? What I'm kind of really dialing into is this piece right here, where it says the minutes may fuel the recent rebound in Aussie dollar should, whoops, there you go. I just clicked on it. Should the central bank tame speculation of another rate cut? So you guys remember what happened last time that Aussie had a rate cut? They're mentioning it again that, we could, there could be, or there, again, some certainty that there is going to be a rate cut or there is not going to be a rate cut. So we'll kind of see how that one goes. It's always interesting when you see that. So again, we'll kind of stop back and we'll see what the meeting notes. Again, like I said, people dissect notes, 6 different ways to Sunday. I mean, it's just amazing how many different ways they do it. One person will say one thing, another person will, I see it this way. So we'll see. But again, anytime you hear rate cut with something like Aussie dollar where there's no kind of competing factors to it, always kind of a cool thing. All right. Other things that I, in looking here too, that I saw is, oil back under $60. It's kind of interesting. I thought this was going a little bit higher, and Bitcoin went over 11 again. I thought that was interesting. We were joking about this morning because it was like 10,500 or something like that. But yeah, okay. So with that being said, going back in, this is what we're looking at for as far as tomorrow goes, as far as news releases, and these are all. Do I have it set on high? Yeah, I have it set on high. I thought so. Again, much better day news-wise than what we were looking at for today, right? You have your average earning index, the 3 months of the year. Again, forecast previous, not a lot of movement here. This one should be interesting. The German economic sentiment. Again, Germany is basically what dictates where the European Union kind of economy is going. That'll be interesting. And then tomorrow, again, there's a meeting, and you'll see that we have Carney speaking, and then we have Fed Chair Powell doing the kind of closing segment. So I don't expect Bowman to really say much. I don't really care about that one as much, but Powell can move the market, and Carney could as well, as he mentions anything about Brexit. But you have this core retail sales numbers, and you'll see there's nothing really else there, so you can get a pure U.S. play on this one. Couple different ways you can play this. The euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar yen, dollar CAD. Again, I'm not as big a fan of dollar CAD inside of Nadex land because the strikes are always bigger on the smaller, like at least on the 5 minutes, the strikes are wider apart. But it's a pure U.S. number. Okay, I think it's important too because what do we have going on right now? I'll give you guys a bonus for this. What's going on right now that would kind of tie back to retail sales? We'll see which side has a bigger delay and which side can answer faster, whether it be the YouTube group or the Twitch group. Pretty soon there will be a Facebook group too. I just haven't got a chance to set that up. Unfortunately, today was crazy. My Asher had his final checkout appointment for his concussion, so he's free. I told him he's half as smart as he used to be, but he's good. Yep, Prime Day. Yep. I'm not exactly sure why Prime Day is such a big thing, but it is. I looked at the specials. I didn't really see anything that was like earth-shattering. Not that holidays are not already kind of, merchandised enough, but now it's like, hey, we got to have Prime Day too, because why not have a Black Friday every single month so we can spend more money on stuff, right? And again, I didn't see anything. I mean, it's not like Amazon doesn't do Black Friday too, right? I mean, they have their things. It's just amazing. And then, when you look at the deals, it's like, okay, well, I mean, I don't know. Do I really want another Amazon Echo? I mean, you get them free for everything else. Do I need to pay for one? And do I want Amazon recording every single one of my conversations at home, with the Amazon Echo? So it's kind of one of those things, right? It's a trick. I don't fall for that mess. Yeah. Ernest, I looked at it. I'm like, but again, retail sales, Prime, it's kind of, I was joking around with somebody earlier. I was like, yeah, I did my part for Prime Day. I watched Transformers 3 and 4 over the weekend. I had plenty of Optimus Prime, and that's all I needed. So, all right. So with that being said, 8:30 tomorrow morning, core retail sales and retail numbers, I think, will be big, especially the retail sales numbers. The fact that the previous is 0.5 and the forecast is only 0.1. You guys can see in that one. Again, this is one that they're typically never on target, right? Even if I do more, you can see this. They are typically never on forecast. This is one of those ones that it's kind of just let's just throw a number out and maybe we'll get close. And you can see how well they forecast this one. But the auto echo is fantastic. I didn't realize they had one for the car, but it doesn't surprise me. So we got revisions, we got everything. But again, this can be, if there's nothing else newsworthy going on tomorrow, then, again, this could be what's going to move us, right? This could be a nice little mover retracement, again, before the market steps up and starts doing some things. All right, so let's dive in some charts. This was on from earlier today. Let's go all the way back up to the top. Let it load. There we go. All right, so last week, right, when we were talking last, would have been on Thursday, which would have been the 11th, which puts us right here. And we were talking about we are potentially falling out the bottom of this zone. But what we were doing, I mentioned that, yeah, we do, but we have this wick. And this wick kind of shows us the last area we had buyers. And we didn't even get as low before it popped back up again. So now we're kind of on the upper side, right? And we did go down, we did go back up, we did pull in. So we're kind of at the upper end of the channel. Now, again, here was that retracement from this weekend. I think, Ernest, you got in on some of this, right? This pop up, the crash back down again. And then again, it was a second racetrack. And then again, rallied right back up to the same point. So there's definitely some, there's some pips in here to take, right? About 18 to the downside. Uh-oh. What did I set off? Hold on. Hold on one sec. Price alerts. I'm still testing that one alert thing, and I can't figure it out. I messaged the developer. He's like, yeah, just do this. I'm like, I've done that about 6 times already, and it's not working. I'll close that down. All right. So we're on the upper end of the spectrum, right? We're still kind of in this top area. And again, you'll see that, we have this single wick against the wall here, a drop here, a drop here, a drop here. They're all sitting in this kind of this demand zone, which is actually right above this kind of, again, this blue is a channel, right? We're talking about how it's bouncing back and forth through this channel. And again, the demand zone is actually, I'm sorry, the supply zone is right above it. It's kind of where my cursor is right now, this wick against the wall. So we're not quite there yet. We're really, really close. And again, you got this wick here, which is just, it's like blah. But again, it's going back to this daily one. So it's interesting too on the lower time frame. You're seeing we're kind of butting here. We're kind of pushing up. Again, we're forming that kind of wedge at the top side. With the monetary policy notes tonight, it'll be interesting to see what we can kind of get out of this. Wouldn't make. I'd like there to be somewhat of a spike. And again, I'm looking for spikes up probably about 50 pips up into this kind of 4-hour zone. If we can get in this 4-hour zone, I'll be tempted to take some shorts if we can hit that area. You missed the second trade by a pip. I know. Isn't that frustrating though? When you miss by like that close and you're like, eh. And again, you got to watch it. I mean, it kind of came up. It went to the initiation of the move, so it did go over. I don't know if there was a spread that got you or not. So it's kind of it's there. And again, it is driving back up if you got pulled, stopped on the downside. So and again, depending if you're sitting there or not sitting there, 18 to 20 up, another 15 or something like that down. If you get your 30, 40 pips a day, that's $400 a day trading. I mean, for a lot of people, that's, depending on the world you're in, that works, not James, James is like 4,000 a day, but that guy's doing all kinds of crazy stuff at this point. Again, everybody's world is different. It really doesn't matter what the total amount is. If you hit your goal, you hit your goal. Okay. Again, depending on your account size, pips are pips. Get your pips, then you adjust it towards what your account size is, and then you make your money, and it's you. I actually saw something interesting today. A guy put something up, and it's interesting. In this field, you see like 8 million people out there that are, 8 million people out there are like, advertising in the same space about education. And it just absolutely amazes me what some people can get away with. And a friend of mine who's actually in this industry, he doesn't teach. He's a kind of a salesman for a company. And he put something up that says the truth is never mentioned. And I thought it was pretty interesting in regards to this field. And it's funny, you see people post these huge numbers, and I've been trading for 7 years. It's like, yeah, that means you started when you're 16. It's interesting because you legally in the United States can't have an account at 16. And then you see like they flash up these things about, oh, look, my students are making all this money. And like half the things they flash up or they're, things that aren't actually forex or currencies or are overseas accounts or they're demo accounts. And they're trying to tell you that their students are making money. And it's like, you can tell that this is a demo based off of just the dollar amounts and what the guy's trading and how big his position size are. And you're like, look at all these greens. And it's like, well, yeah, 6 of those trades are the same exact trade. You just kept adding on to the position. Little tiny like micro lots. It's like, look into these things, people. And then there's another guy right now that, he has a really cool marketing thing that's talking about, secret indicator, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, that's awesome. A lot of credit to that guy. It's like, it doesn't really matter. It's like, who cares what other people do? It's what you can do, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I can make $8 million a week trading, right? But if you don't make any money yourself, does it really matter? And it's kind of the same thing, the truth is there. So that pivot thing, I feel your earnest on that one. It drives me crazy too, right? It's happened and it will happen. You just have to get used to it. Unfortunately, that's just trading, taking losses and then missing by a pipette, as you call it. It's going to happen, brother. I'm sorry. But again, on this one, let's see if we can get some movement at the 9:30 time period. I wanted to drop down and look at some of the other ones, the Aussie ones, just so you guys are prepared for it. As the Aussie New Zealand is loading. All right, so this one again has bounced back and forth. We mentioned that there were some sellers in this area, right? This clearing wick kind of threw a monkey wrench into a lot of things, but you'll see we came up. And again, looking on the lower time frame on the 30-minute, here was the start of the big fall, right? It wasn't this chatter back and forth. It was here. Okay, I'll do it off of there. That's kind of really the start, right? Kind of this, the falling, the hammer to the downside, and then boom, 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 and you got those parabolic candles, and that's what kind of spiked up and grabbed and came down. You're going 85 down to about down here, about 30 pips to the downside in the New Zealand, Aussie New Zealand. And again, looking on the left over here, you guys can see that's bouncing back between that same chart. Now, we did eventually complete the entire channel. I think did we discuss that last week? It would have been the 11th. I don't know. I don't know when we met. Let's see. 11th at 1. No, we would have been right around in the zone about going through or not. We ended up completing that after we talked last week, and then it went all the way back up, grabbed the blue area, came all the way back down again, back to the same area. So this downside, I think, is getting a little bit kind of overused. So I do think that we are going to get a collapse through the bottom of this if we can get another push down. But again, this has been some nice channeling back and forth. Remember, Aussie strength in this one pushes it up. Aussie weakness on this one pushes it down. I do like that we are driving down, but in the next 14 minutes, I don't think we're going to drop another, 12, 14 pips to the downside. Now, one thing I'm kind of concerned about, this is ascending right here, right? Which means that it's eating those orders up. Now, this one did not go as high, but I don't know how much is left in this zone, and this clearing wick doesn't do a whole lot of, kind of foreshadowing of what we have to come. As well as this green candle right here, this formation is like blah, right? This wick spikes all the way down and kind of clears all the order. So, I mean, in reality, I probably have to drop it down to, let me see here. If I drop this down and let's go see if we can, if a 180 makes the picture look any better. Come on. Nope. See how the wick's the same thing? Here would have been your takeoff point had there not been this wick, right? But this wick spiked all the way down and pulled back up again. So it really makes this, for news, this one a little bit more challenging, okay? And again, that's why you need to watch wicks. And again, it may not be the best opportunity, so we may just walk away from that one as being our option. But again, sideways down bias, sideways down confirmed. Again, 2 confirmed, 1 just bias. You have your red, you have your green, you have your red. It is driving back down again. And again, can it cover 8 pips in 15 minutes? Sure, the ATR on this one, in 30 minutes. Maybe. It may spike down in this area. We'll see what it does. If it bounces off this bottom and starts to kind of push around, if it's good Aussie number and it spikes down into here, that may be an opportunity to buy to go long back up into this area, okay? Vice versa, if it spikes back up, you're looking at about 30 pips. That could be a chance for us to take it to the downside on a retracement, okay? Aussie dollar. What'd you guys say? Staying focused. Absolutely. It's not about the price action. Yeah, it's all about price action. Yep. Like I said, it's kind of like this. Like, I always like to think of it this way. Like, I have no problem if you guys become better traders than I can ever become. I do this job to make you guys traders. If you guys are better than me, I don't have an ego about it. I may say something that clicks better for you, and I'm totally cool with that. Again, it's, you got to worry about you, and that's what trading is how good can you make yourself, all right. I like this one where we are. I like the fact that we're coming into news time. I like the fact that we've pulled back up into a daily. I like the fact that it bounced off of this lower level. I'm all about this right now to the short side. I do like it. Let's see. This zone on the 4 hour is, let's get some. Ooh, it's about 12 to the top side. Let's see the downside. Ooh, about 70 to the downside. So this is a potential right now if you guys have it set up or not. Like I said, they're calling for, new highs in this, but this would be one that you may want to pull up Nadex real quick and look at Nadex. Let's see if I can load this up top real quick. See what we have as far as strike prices go. All right, there is. Oh, I hate Nadex when I have it's inside of a browser, but it's in one of my smaller browsers, so it's all kind of funky. Yeah, so all right, so there's a Nadex. All right, so basically the news statement is going to move this thing pretty quick, right? The indicative value is at what? .7035 right now. You could get into, I mean, again, can it move in 40 minutes? Can it move 10 pips? Sure. Right now, you can get it into an Aussie dollar 70.22 for about $5 max risk total, right? You could take this one just to see if it spikes. You could risk, whatever you want on it, right? Take this thing off when it hits 50%. And you're good to go. Again, that news release comes out in about 10 minutes. Little things like that. And is it a bit of a gamble? Yeah, it's a bit of a gamble, but at the end of the day, it's $5 risk per contract. Even if you took it for just a little bit of a move, there may be enough kind of, movement back and forth just in anticipation of the release. Okay. Let me see something real quick here. Hold on. I'm trying to set something real quick. These are like little things. It's like, yeah, these are fun. Okay. So little things like that. Again, statistically, is it against us? Sure, but could there be just enough chatter in this thing? Generally, yes. Does it match on two different time frames that we should be looking to go short? Yes. Okay, so those are kind of the ones that are, you don't see these opportunities too much. It may go a little bit higher before news, but again, it's talking about rate changes. Rate changes can do a lot of stuff very, very fast, and something like this that Nadex market makers don't actually keep up with. Like I said, the ATR normally isn't that bad, but something like a rate change, we may just get chatter up and down, and if it moves 8 pips, bam, you're out of this trade already, just in chatter, right? It could be a spike up and down and get taken out with Nadex. Little things like this are kind of fun little catches. And again, this is just kind of a little fun trade. But as far as an overall look, again, if you're going to take this in currencies, I'd wait till the news releases out to see what we got. Okay, we can play a retrace on it. But I do like kind of longer term the fact that we are in a daily area. And this is a really nice daily area. Descending candles down, nice pop through. The first test barely even grazed the edge of the zone and then barely grazed it here. So we have two bare grazes in there to the downside. Okay. Now, this push up is also kind of this little piece over here. Again, this is actually farther back. This is the one, this came back to July 4th, which was this retest here. So we're still in the retest of this. So if it goes just slightly higher, then we're in the actual daily zone. That's a little bit farther back. This piece down here, I'm not as concerned because we had some basing in, it popped and then went back down again. And although it formed 3, which is, tells us there's some buyers there, it went all the way to the very, very bottom. It didn't stop about halfway through. And this piece here, this little gap, I don't really consider this that much of a pullback. So really, I think that this has the power, again, in the next day or two, to kind of re-rally back all the way down this 40 pips or 50 pips, back down to this on a 69.90 number. Unless news really sends this high, which again, I'd be looking for a retrace back down. I just think, at this point, blowing through this zone with nothing, again, it's respected it two other times, and that's what I have to be able to read. Anything higher up top, again, I'd be waiting for a pullback. If we do get a break and it pulls back, then again, I will, I will look on a lower time frame to see if we can get, a red, green, red kind of confirmation, but it's going to have to be a nice little pop and a nice little hold inside of this area. If it starts to kind of pull back to the downside, it's going to invalidate it right away for me. So that's just going to be my, my thing on it. That's probably it on this one. I'm trying to see, is there any other Aussie pairs that we'd want to look at? Nah, those are probably the main 3 we'd focus on. Okay. Let's jump over to CAD Yen real quick. And I say real quick, but it's got to do its loading thing. All right. So there's the pop. You guys remember I drew these things. Again, I missed it by 1 candle. I drew the line to there, and it was actually 1 over. And it did go back down again, and we missed it by about 8 pipettes. Okay, we're in the zone, right? We're right there. It's pulled up. It's a downtrend setup. It looks like it's going to push down a little bit further into that area. Again, these would be 2 little kind of alerts for me, right? Once I get that alert finally figured out, it's going to be here and here to drive to the downside. All right. Again, you're seeing it flatline here. This one, let me see. The best day this week for this one is going to probably be. Let's see. Actually, I'll switch over to this side. Economic calendar. Let's do this. Take that guy off. Actually, you know what? I'll just do this real quick, just to make this fast. Wednesday. Okay. Wednesday and Friday where they'd be the 2 best days to trade this pair. It's a lot of time, but I wonder if we can get, I'm not as concerned about this blue area. See this green candle right here? This long wick? I would say this is a boring candle because the wick is a little bit bigger than the body, but the way that it pushed all the way down here, I'm kind of a fan of this one. this would be a target from, again, we're right at kind of where the original target was. We talked about filling this gap, I think, when we were back. Actually, we were right in here. Yeah, we were looking for a trigger when we got to this area. I think this is where my target would be the start of this move. I don't think this area can hold much longer. There's a little bit of a base right here, and that's what we're running into, but it's kind of grinding right through it right now. Drop into the 4 hour. Again, this is a nice pullback. This up, this pullback, the impulse correction, and then kind of rally forward. This one is not bad either. But these would be two profit targets to the downside. And again, had you been short this from last week, actually 11th, we were right here and we talked about it coming up and heading back down again. And this isn't a bad one for CAD. Like I said, I think we're well on the way. I don't think we'll rally up. I think the trade was last week. If we do go much lower, though, you got to start looking at this, okay, which is the racetrack on the daily, right? It's this piece. Now, the reason I said I'm not as concerned about this is because here was the original move and gap up, and that's what gave us the gap here, and then it pulled back down. It actually went lower than the original move, so we actually can't see any of this. So it goes from here to here. So there's a little bit of a pullback and zone right here. Okay. Now, is it fresh? It's really kind of the destruction of this original gap area, right? This pull down. And yes, it did pop and kind of based and things like that, but it ran out of steam very, very fast. We went from one kind of pop into this level, and then it just kind of ground sideways and slow. Not like this, where it got bigger, or like bigger to the downside. So, I think an overall eventual target that we got to focus on too is going to be down here, okay? For this to come right back down again. And again, this would be CAD weakness, all right? That's about all for this guy. Let's look at Euro Aussie. Okay, Euro Aussie, I guess, is another one technically we could play with the rate statement, although this one's a little bit more volatile in and of itself anyway. And right now, again, it's pre-released by a couple minutes. It's showing us, I mean, at least, again, 30 minutes too high for this one, but we're seeing price kind of fall down at this point. We do have a nice drive through this zone. Okay, it did go back up and grab more orders in this kind of upper section. It popped down, came up, and again, this is a racetrack retracement to the downside. This gets a little bit funky though, because we have a gap and then price went below the gap and then kind of rallied off of it. So a little bit hard to tell. And again, there's the right where price is right now is where this kind of the gap originally was. Okay, so you got to be a little bit cautious of that. Trying to think if I would take this much farther. I like this zone. I think this is a good zone. I think this bottom section down here, I don't think that's a bad zone. Again, grind, and then pop. But I do like, this is not a bad zone. I do like the way that zone is formed as well as far as a profit target goes. Yeah, that was a fill. So this one, again, I'll remove this. You guys can see there's the gap, right? It refilled the gap in the direction of the gap and continued downward pressure. Okay, that would have been the Sunday night play. Actually, Ernest, you played this one, I think, Sunday night, didn't you? I remember you said you filled one gap. I think it was this one. Yeah, I think it was this one that you said you did it in. But anyway, this is the Sunday night gap strategy, guys. You mark off the kind of closing candle of where you are, and when you have a gap in the direction of the trend, you wait for the retracement. And actually, if you're going to draw this one, you probably would have drawn it off the low right there, just because it kind of ended and kind of spiked at the very, very end. But in the direction of the gap, you play the up. This becomes your risk, and then your profit target's farther down. The profit target on this one, again, a little bit difficult with this guy right here, but at least, at this point, you're, let's see. Your total risk in this trade would have been about 18, actually a little bit less. I went a little bit above, about 16. And right now you'd be up about 60. So again, you're already over 3-1 at this point. Yeah, 2 Aussie pairs. Yeah, again, you'll typically find on multiple pairs. But yeah, so this is one that you'd be up about 60 in right now, based off of that Sunday night gap strategy. Okay, I don't talk about the Sunday night gap strategy anywhere really besides inside of kind of these sessions. I probably should do it more often, but again, When we started doing the Sunday night gap sessions is when it got really slow on Sundays and nothing was gapping. And then, of course, we stopped them and then you start having gapping. But you can never win. It doesn't matter what you do. But yeah, so we'll, you know, that's kind of where we're at this one. We're kind of in a continuation pattern. There's nothing there now. We can take a lesson from this one. Being money, there's just not much there. All right, let's go to euro pound. All right. So hopefully you guys remember this conversation from Thursday when we drew the Bollinger Bands and we drew this, and Ernest got on this, high horse about we don't do indicators, and I said no. Using the indicators to determine my own trades, what I'm doing is looking to see what other people are looking at. And I said the way that this one was starting to look is most likely we're going to break this thing, but we're going to break it sideways. You typically like, when it's going up, you like it when it changes direction and really punches its way through the top or the bottom. This one just kind of went up and it's just kind of going sideways. And of course, these lines will extend up and up, but this is a trap. People see this, and I'm not surprised. And I talked about this morning, okay? I said, hey, we had a break. Guess what's going to happen? This thing's going to pop. And the reason why it does is because as soon as everybody breaks this trend line, they're like, oh, we got to go short. This is what I got to do. It broke the trend line, right? Well, it went sideways through the trend line. It didn't actually break the trend line. And again, that's why we saw the pop. Now, on the lower time frame, you can see that we are kind of still inside of this same channel. We popped down, we went up, we went lower, then we went right back down again. We sucked in this bottom section. So we are at the top side of it. I am actually more bearish this pair right now. I do like this pair more to the downside. I've been saying that because I want it to collapse down in here. But based off the descending wicks right here, based off the top of this channel here, I do like this one. Now, again, this little gap here messed this up. If you're waiting for a type of confirmation to the downside, right? If we were looking for a color change, typically you don't like this high to be lower than these things. You'd like it to be kind of the peak, but it did go lower. You do have the red, you have the green, you have the red close right there. And we're kind of in that area, and then it kind of gapped down here. Once it gaps, then it kind of gets a little screwy. It's like, why did it gap? Why did it do that? So technically you're still live in this trade, although you've been pretty close to getting stopped out on this one, but again, do like this one to the side, the break. I do like it to go down. It does need a bit of a catalyst, though. We do need some type of positive pound news. It is possible tomorrow that Carney could mention something, and that could give us the boost we're looking for. But I think it's going to have to be some legitimate. It's going to have to be a good release or some type of certainty around the finality of Brexit and what the long-term kind of the long-term issues are going to be with it. I think once all that's on the table and people know things, truly. Again, one of the things, and this is, I'm just throwing this out here. I don't have any information about this or to back this up. But what I'm saying is, Trump keeps mentioning that we could potentially have some type of a trade war against, the European Union if they are not going to be, playing games or whatever. Again, he's looking for trade wars so he can kind of keep them, he can control the markets better. Well, an easy way to kind of make that, to keep this, allies happy and everything else is threaten to cut a deal with the UK and tell the European Union they're going to have a problem with them. Well, that would give the pound plenty of strength, even though it's not necessarily real. That's what could launch this thing to the downside. And again, as Ernest says, it only takes a few tweets, right? He's going to tweet, he's going to tweet something at 3:30 in the morning when everybody's sleeping. But again, that will be the European Open, and that will give the pound its strength, to the downside. All right. So that's where we are right now. Again, this was not a huge move of the day. Look at Euro Yen. All right. All right, so Euro Yen did kind of a fake out as well. Again, I drew this earlier for these guys. So again, here is the channel, this kind of back and forth area. You're seeing that the highs are getting more or less lower and the lows are getting, more or less higher, right? This one is there, but then higher, than we're kind of at that same area now. So you are seeing some consolidation. This was not a buying zone. This is really where price kept getting sucked back into. All right. Again, it broke lower, broke higher, broke lower. Broke up, and I thought we were clear. Again, there was the one trade that we were able to place out of this one, this kind of very fast re-entry in, and then it kind of went down and stopped, and then went sideways, and we got the gap. And where are we right now? We're right back in the same zone. We're just slightly below, okay? And even here on the lower time frame, you can see up, boom, right back down again, up, right back up again. So again, it's stuck within this kind of 10 pip range of where it wants to be. And again, we're seeing some movement right now. It's because of the, what's going on in the European session or the Asian session. But again, not a very, very strong trend. Okay, the ATR on this pair now is down to 57. It is dropping. It does have some larger candles in here, so it could be much, much worse. But again, for me, I want to know when it leaves this box because we're still dealing with this. You guys see this? Remember this on all the yen pairs, that one gigantic spike down and up? So we still have that problem that we got to get out of that one. So what I'm looking for is I don't necessarily want to keep playing this back and forth. Like I said, it keeps getting sucked back in. We have lower highs here. I think there's definitely some supply up in this area as well. I want to know when it leaves the area. So for me, I've set an alert at 121 to let me know when it's coming out the bottom. I actually said earlier today, so I can get consistent with this, is I'm going to set yellow. Yellow is going to be kind of our alerts. Okay, and then once I get that bot working, that will help with the, where we're going to set the alerts at for the channel. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Not really much analysis we need to do besides that. Euro dollar. And FYI, if Trump does fully go like trade war against Europe, I would absolutely love that. I think that would be great. That would be wonderful for me. All right, so here was the trigger that we're using up top, right? We had a seller area about 112.81, and we bounced off it again today, okay? When we talked last, we were over here. It was this first kind of retracement down. We were on the 11th at 1, so we were right in here. We just pulled back up to this zone. And again, this is the trigger. There would be your entry. Let me just draw this. I'll just do it off this one. Copy, paste. Let's drag this down. Let's mark the zone off. Okay. So there was a zone. Here was our trigger where we wanted to be alerted, the 112.80 area. And we hit it and went down again today, and it's down about 25, 30 pips. Obviously, we're not retracing all the way back through. This is the one that we were waiting for. This is the one we set up last week, and we got the trigger, right? We got the trigger here, right about where the entry was. We did not get it until this level, and it dropped. There was about 6 pip risk. We didn't get the whole 50 or whatever out of it. Whoops. It went about 30. Okay, and then you can see right here is where it kind of broke. And it did actually break at a level. It broke here. You guys see this? Again, here is a pullback. And you guys see what it ran into? Here, I'll separate that out. You guys can see it. Very strong impulse, correction, buying, up, down, up, and then around. Boom, it came down and hit that level. So again, that is kind of like a T1 versus the full kind of play on that one. So not surprised it actually turned there. But again, our risk actually was a little bit lower. It came up a little bit higher. So it was still at least a 3-to-1 on that trade. So not a bad one. Where we are now, again, it's kind of flatline again. It's because the markets are closed right now. I don't think we can get much higher. Not necessarily this area, but if you look over here on the daily, you guys see this? There's basically 4 wicks that are going down. Move the measure move out of the way, right? Here, 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 and here to the downside. Big push down, and again, lower, 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 lower. And then this barely touched the top, and this one didn't even hit as much. So I do believe we have some sellers up around 112.80-ish on this, on 85-ish. So this is one of those ones that it's kind of like, I don't think it can go much higher. I think we are going to push back down again. I think we are going to test 112 again. It's just getting somewhat of a catalyst to do that. We may be able to do that tomorrow. Again, with retail sales numbers, that may give us all we need for a strong dollar to push this back down 60 pips. And again, I have a target down here, like the 112.08 area. That's kind of where what this is here. Thought I changed this, but I guess maybe I didn't save it earlier. Dark green. Okay. All right. All right. So that's what I'm looking for this one. And again, this euro weakness that we're seeing here, this kind of, orders up top also coincides with what we saw in the euro yen. I'm sorry, the euro pound. Okay. It's always nice when you have that on 2 pairs. Let's go down and look at pound yen. All right. So pound yen has hit my trigger. Okay. So this was a trigger. I wanted to know when we broke below the low to see what we do with it. It pulled down and it's actually retracing back up again. And you guys can see on the lower time frame, the break here was at what, 135.03, right about, actually right here. Okay, so here is, there's the one zone. You guys see this? It kind of broke through, came up and retested, and then continued to push down, right? delete it now, just get it off the chart. Here was kind of the break and the retest. Down, strong push, up, and we're over. So a little bit of a play. I mean, you're really not up in it right now. You'd be up about 10 pips on there. Nothing too crazy. And again, if you guys look at this one, this is the weakest. This is another thing. I don't know if you guys look at this or not. Where is it? Go back all the way up. You guys ever use this? They're talking about the pound is the most shorted. I guess the pound is like, it has the most bearish sentiment of all the pairs. And it's funny that right now that it's saying that all these people are long the pound right now. That it's the most, it has the most bearish sentiment of anything right now. 80% of people are long. Everyone's like, the bottom's in here somewhere. The bottom's in here somewhere. It's, again, when the sentiment changes is when you kind of see movement in it. Okay. As far as an extension goes on this one, I was looking at this and I've kind of looked back. I mean, let me bump up to a weekly. I did some analysis for a person that I work with on the side. Here's what we were dealing with before we had this spike. Okay, so there's a little bit of a gap down here. Where this turned, this was October, really the end of October in 2017, the last time that we saw prices really down this far. Okay. Again, everything moved up here with all the uncertainty with, Brexit and everything else. I mean, all this stuff was up here. This is an interesting area down here because if you look, this is like the lowest it's ever been, right? Down here in the 125 area. So we're just, we're not far. So for me, I have kind of this, and again, you guys know me, I don't use a lot of stuff on weeklies, but for me, that's a special area, right? And then when I go back and look at days, right? I have to change this real quick. Let me go back and do, I think I can do this. I need this on 2 days. I think that's how I did it. No, that wasn't it. I forget how I set it up. I'd set it up pretty interesting, and I could see. Oh, you know what? I'll do 1 day, and I'll do 1,000 days. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there. Yep, that's what it was. So looking back, okay, this is what we're dealing with. Okay. Okay. So you'll see there was an original level of basing. It popped, it hit, and then went up. Now there's a little bit of a tick here, a little bit of a tick here. Here is the first pullback, but again, we've eaten through that already. But this area, for the most part, is pretty clean. I mean, you definitely have some wicks to the bottom side here, but no real kind of pullbacks down per se like this, right? It all just grinds higher. So what makes this interesting is, and here, let me show you guys real quick. Is that the spike? Yeah, it was a spike. Let me put a horizontal line here so you guys can get an idea of this one. So there's where the spike was. And I'll go back. Oops. That's what it ran into. Okay. That spike just happened to come down to this single wick. Well, it's basically a wick over wick. It's a very tiny wick on the top side. You guys can hear, I'll stretch this so you guys can see it. You guys see the wick over wick? Here, I'll mark it off. There's your wick over wick. I will turn it gray so you guys can see it. And then look what we ran into. Whoops. Oh, when I hit fix, I didn't get it to the right area. Hold on. You guys see right there? That's what we hit off of. So somebody asked me earlier, I don't know if it was Parker or, I don't know if he's partner. Maybe it was Parker. I think, you know what, it was maybe Ryan, and he asked about a wick. Oh, I'm sorry, it was Josh. Josh, you asked about wick over wicks. Well, here is this craziness, right? And what did the craziness bounce off of? A wick over wick from 2017. Okay. So when you're entering trades, you always have to make sure you go back and kind of look to the left until you find an area where it ran into, or find out if it's running into somewhat of a wall. Okay, that'll help out a bit. All right, but that also shows me that there wasn't a whole lot else there besides this, so I'm actually not hesitant to go, continue to take this one short at this point. Again, wait for some type of a confirmation. Again, we don't have it right now because there was a gap that kind of messes it up, right? And this kind of snapped a bit higher than this red. But if we can get a red, green, red, something like this color here, red, green, red to the downside, this is definitely something you could take short, right? And put yourself above the green supply zone that was formed in that downtrend, and continue to take this thing down. Now, do I think it can go all the way down to 132? I think it's going to take some time, but I definitely think this is somewhere where it could run to, somewhat of a longer position. This could be something that you kind of scale into or scale out of, okay? All right, let's see. Oh, hold on. Why is that like that? Oh, okay. You guys can still hear me, right? Let me just make sure here. I'm moving on the screen, but I'm getting a connection error at the moment, so it looks like my charts are not going to move at the moment. So my charts are slightly off here. I'm getting a connection error real quick. But I think you guys can still hear me. Let's go down to this one. Actually, you know what? Let me try something real quick. That's funny. Oh, I think it's updating. Okay, you can hear fine. Okay, good. All right, so let's go to this one. It's funny. It says I'm connected, but I'm not getting a data feed right now. So, but I also cannot disconnect, which I thought was funny. There we go. I disconnected finally. Let me see if it loads back up again. Yeah, sometimes this happened to me the other day. I was updating something and like it cut the Oanda server, unfortunately. It's still connecting, so we'll deal with this one. All right, so into the pound dollar. You guys can see that this one has a nice bounce, right? Again, very similar picture what we saw in the other one where we had the basing level. This one is a little bit cleaner though, right? Not as many candles, didn't kind of go back and forth. It wasn't, higher. Balance went up, hit, and again, we went back down to the bottom side. Hopefully it can, come on, connect. Connect. Yeah, I think it's updating or something. Come on. I don't know what's it's not doing. But anyway, so on the 4 hour, you guys can see that we had a nice little pop here. Actually, let me try one thing real quick. Let me see if this pops up. Let's see. No, that one's connected. I don't know. Get a little bit of an error on that one, but it's not moving on this one either. I think Oanda's server is having an issue right now. It could be because I have two different Oanda platforms up right now, and neither one of them is showing movement. So yeah, I may have a little bit of a connection error. But anyway, again, look at the 4 hour here. Nice little kind of drop for the 4 hour. Again, textbook moving. Again, a lot of boring candles, sideways movement, and then explosion. Right, very exciting candles to the downside. Look for those type of retracements here. This is kind of a you missed by a pip at entry thing, and again, it was very, very close. If you're looking at a 30-minute, you would have grabbed it. If you used a 4 hour for entry, you would not have gotten it. And again, it was a downtrend setup. We had a downtrend here. We had a green pullback. It hit into an area of supply, and then boom, collapsed right back down again. Again, here's one. This one's a bit cleaner. It came back down and is now basing at the lower edge of the bracket. And again, that was about a 60 pip move. Not a bad trade. We talked about this one actually this morning. If the chart was moving, I'd be able to show you what we could do with it now. Unfortunately, I cannot. Actually, let me see. That one's not working. Let me see if I can pull this one up. Let's see. This is pound dollar. I don't have any profiles on this one, so it's horrible right now. Yeah, we're still basing at that bottom level. I just swapped onto another platform, so the analysis shouldn't look any different. It's basically just flat line. So yeah, so you're still good there. Okay. Oops, not that one. I hit the wrong one again. I'm sorry. Let's go down and look at New Zealand. Okay, I don't think this is gonna will it load. Yeah, it's gonna load from the last time. All right, so again, make sure you have these lines drawn on your chart as well. You have this top section, the same thing, that kind of drop base and then explosive movement. It did push down again. Let me see if I have the update for this. Let's look at this one. This one actually rallied back up and went just a tad higher into this zone. At this point, because we are pushing higher, there's not a whole lot of bases below it, unfortunately, but not a bad. I'd like to see this get a bit higher, I think. The fact that it's pushing through, and again, I can't see. Let me see. I'm trying to do it on a different chart. Hold on. Let me pull the 4 hours down. Oh, yeah, no, this one's much higher. Yeah, this one's much higher. Let me see something here. I'm going to confuse you guys all at this point. Watch this. Ready? Come on. There we go. All right, so here was, and again, this drives me crazy. Let's change this to black on white. Bar up, we'll do in green. Bar down, we'll do in red. Bull candles, we'll do in green. Bear candles, we'll do in red. There we go. No grid. All right, so what we were looking at before was this zone here to here. And again, we rallied higher, rallied higher, rallied higher. So we, again, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse. So we're on the top side of this right now. And again, where we are, you guys can see there's not too much there. You know, going up to a daily level, you can see that we are right now inside, and hopefully you guys can see this. Again, I know this one's a little bit harder to see. You guys see this wick right now? Oh, I gotta take that off. Hold on. Scroll left. We're right in here. Here. Horizontal line properties. Let's turn this blue. Thickness will go here. Hold on. There. It's not gonna let me do it. All right. So basically, there's our one, and we're looking at the other one right there. Okay, so that's kind of the area we're in right now. It's this kind of wick against a wall. I'm not willing to go short. I do like how this was kind of blown away. I do like this kind of formation. There's a little wick over wick here, and there's a little wick over wick here. But for the most part, this has been a pretty kind of validated push forward. And again, this is dollar weakness. Strong retail sales will turn this thing around and bring it to the downside. And again, you can take this down for, I mean, saying about 150 again. When this is what, daily? Yeah, on a daily. I mean, we got a lot of movement to the downside. Drop it into your 4 hour, again, kind of the same thing, right? Okay. Looking here, there's a bit of a gap here. There's no real kind of wick or anything, right? So we got a racetrack back down to what? 66.93. You have a pullback here, pullback here. This went pretty deep. Only things I'd be cautious of. I don't have the top of this set up. I'm using this for something else right now. Shape, triangle. You know, you have kind of an area here, right? And you have an area like here. Okay. There's a little one here. Let's see. Little one here. Whoop, not that one. Little one there as well. Okay, to the downside. Let me change the rectangular properties of this one. There you can see that one a little bit better. Okay. And I'll delete that one. Okay. So again, couple small areas in here to the downside, but I really like this one as far as targets go. Back down into this area. Okay, when this does give us a signal to turn, and again, look for your signals on the 1 hour or the 30 minutes. Okay. Again, not able to get it. There was a bit of a red, green, and like kind of a red over here, but we were sitting smack in the middle, so really not there. And again, still like the same thing. We start to get a confirmation, taking this short back down to this 66. He's probably 66.50 area. Yeah, about there. about 66. I know you guys can't see it. It's real small because it's not adjusted right now. 66.60-ish area. So yeah, maybe head down that direction. It's so funny. Here's the price alert that keeps going off that the New Zealand level is above. All right, let's go over to dollar CAD. Let's see. All right, dollar CAD. We'll start off on the daily. I have all kinds of alerts set right now. Let's go all the way to the end. So, dollar CAD. This is kind of how we have it, how it's looking on Ninja when Ninja is connecting. Okay. Again, we've been in this area before. You guys can see there's a couple levels here. Impulse correction. This was a retest. Here was a kind of another test down. Where we are right now is going back, and we're getting into an area where we are seeing some, ascending candle, wicks, right? A little bit dangerous, but again, this long wick, and again, this is price action at its finest. This long wick here shows me that a lot of orders were cleared out until we get down. And again, this bounce here came off of, let me get this, do shape, that area. Okay, so we got a little bit of distance from where we are right now. You're talking about 120 pips to the downside on the daily. There is an area of buyers, so if we extend this out, you guys can probably see it a little bit better, right? You guys see this kind of area right here? This down, sideways, down movement. That's what we're kind of pulling up into. So depending on what retail sales numbers look like tomorrow, if it is bad news, again, will give us dollar weakness that will help continue to push this down. I still do believe there is big psychological kind of issues with the 129 area. Right now we're at the 130.54 area. So again, kind of an area we want to watch out for, right? We're at the 50. We get down to the 130. 130 has a lot of zeros in it. Very, very big psychological level. There'll definitely be buyers below that. People don't like it below 130. Even central banks at that point may say, do we need to start getting involved here? So definitely something to look at on that. Dropping down to the 4 hour. Okay. Let's see. We go all the way across. Oops. There we go. 4 hour. Okay, you can see that kind of drop a little bit better here. And again, here is your shape. We'll drop the rectangle in, and you guys can see there's that little basing level that we're kind of getting close to. The one we saw on the daily, though, would have been closer up here. Okay, it would have been more of like that, but this is the smaller time frame kind of level that we can hit, and we could probably mark that off. But to stay conservative, you go here. You're talking about, it's about 11 pips, right, to the downside. There is a level of basing right below it, though, so I do not like it. It's not my most favorite type of setup, but I think we'd be pretty safe on that one with any type of dollar weakness. Now, this is the 4 hour, so if we do get a pop tomorrow, we're so close to where, we're so close here to the downside. It's only about 30 pips. I would not, if this breaks through, I would not play a retrace of that one. But if we do break up, I'd be looking for levels here, and I'd be looking for levels, let's see. It's about 57 pips up to this level here for a news spike. Okay, so those are two potential levels we could also hit. All right, dropping down to 30 minutes on this one. Yes. I got alerts everywhere. On the 30-minute, you guys can see we are also inside of this kind of wick over wick position right now. Okay, so on the short term tonight, we may see an actual kind of retracement back down. And it's more or less filled at this point, but here's one nice level. If it does break above, there's not really anything up until here. This is a double wick situation. Same thing, this is higher than the previous candle. Nothing I really love in this one. Again, it's overnight. Today was just not a good day to get a good assessment on this one. The only thing we had was really this pop near term, okay? And again, this did what it was supposed to do. Yeah, nothing screams at me on this one, unfortunately. Okay. Okay, let's go into, let's see, after dollar CAD, we'll go down to Swiss. Come on. There we go. Let's start on the daily. I have alerts for everything, just FYI. All right, so we pulled back down to the level of basing. It really hasn't done anything in 2 days, right? You guys will see we had up, down, but we basically opened and closed at the same exact spot. Again, not really enough political indecision out there right now. With speeches tomorrow, that may open up something for us. We'll see if that's what we need to get some movement again. Again, it is pushing higher above the base now as well, so I'm kind of out of anything short term at this point. Dropping down into the 4-hour level, you guys will see that, again, it shot down and then came right back up, and it's really kind of absorbed into this area. Okay, it did bounce off of this piece, and it's really stuck, right? So this, and again, this is kind of going back to, I could put a channel on there, but I'll just put the this on there and make my own channel. You guys see where, again, this area is actually, it's actually bigger than that. I mean, we can go back to the base in here, right? Came down at base, came up, based, down, down, up, up. So it's really, really stuck around this zone. One thing that I'd be watching out for is up here. Okay. This drop, sideways drop, wick over wick, I think is pretty strong. So if price is able to rally up to there, that would definitely be an opportunity to take this short. It didn't break this entire wick to the downside, but again, you have initiation of gap and you have a gap fill down here at 97.65. So an eventual target off a short can definitely be down in this location based off of this wick. Okay. I know you guys can't see the numbers on this one. Again, I apologize. This desktop is not set for, unfortunately, this monitor, so it's going to look very, very small. That's all for the Swissy. Let's go down to the yen. Yes, I know it's above. All right. On the daily, okay. Very similar situation. We had that big pop last week. We had the sideways drop. It went all the way down, came all the way back up, all the way back down again, and now it's just stuck in baseline. And again, you guys can see the candle here from yesterday. This one right here. Up, down, and basically closed at the exact same spot. Right? It was kind of like Thursday was great. Friday was like, and Monday was like, yeah, we got a little bit more, but same open close. Hopefully we get a little bit more movement. As I said, retail sales is a number that will have the ability to drive this around a little bit. So we'll see if that is the magic kind of factor that will help it work. That's kind of it on that one. On the 4-hour, same thing, kind of back and forth, and you guys will see it's kind of spiking up, spiking back down, going sideways, spiking back up again, and it's still stuck within the same range. That is about 28 pips. That range was originally kind of formed off of this. Okay, you guys see how we popped, kind of came down. We didn't hit it. That actually hit some of this drama here. Hit, and it keeps tickling the bottom side. I would like to see a break of this zone. I think that would be good if we could get that. Whoops, too much. This pullback here, like this kind of turning point, this pivot is lower than these two. So for me, I'm sort of looking for targets of this one if we can get short down into this area, okay, which is about, this one's about 35 to this first one, and then target number 2 is down in here, okay. And that one is about 50. So there's about 70 pips that you're able to grab if we can get a nice little break and retest of this zone. Again, I think retail sales number would be what initiates it. I'd really like for us to kind of come down and be in this area when retail sales actually hits. That would kind of alleviate a lot of the kind of orders that we'd run into. Now, vice versa, this is the 4-hour chart. To the top side, 40 to 50 pips is bringing us right up into this area. Whoops. This area. Okay. And again, it's where we had a drop, sideways movement, and then very, very, very powerful drop. If we do hit here, which is around 108.35-ish area, if we hit there, I will be looking to short as well because that's a big pop up. We basically had a racetrack, nothing much there. That would be kind of a perfect kind of another retrace like this situation, right? The down, up based off of news, and then play the retracement back down into the same kind of target of 107.83. And again, this is about it's a 50 pip runner exactly from this zone back down. So if we can go down, spike up, grab it here, your stop goes just on the other side, look for a short all the way back down the bottom, and you're looking to fill something along these lines, something like that, right? Rectangle list, change that one into green, something along those lines. And then your risk level would be something like this. Okay, something along those lines. Okay, if we can get a new spike that goes up, hits, and comes back down again. All right. All right, guys. Well, that was the last one. Hopefully I can figure out what the heck is going on with Ninja Trader tomorrow because I'm going to need that in the morning. But that's it. Do you guys have any questions with anything? Sorry we had to mix it up and go back to the MT4 charts. I know they're not as fancy as Ninja. That's why I do most of my charting on Ninja, but entry is pretty easy on MT4. You guys will need to do that. You need to use that for your combine. So any questions? I know you guys are a bit delayed. Thank you, James. Parker, what about you? Anything over there? Yeah, it's always funny, James, in the middle of a presentation like this where you have to like mix it up. It's like, hey, wait a second, the chart's not updating. Let me just swap. I do have a couple of different things going though. I guess I could have brought up FXCM too. Yeah, like I said, Mondays. You guys know that Mondays is one of my least favorite nights to do this, just because, if you have a flat Monday when everybody's looking, had a long weekend, it's typically a slow night. But we'll see. I think tomorrow will be a better day because of the news releases that we have. A lot of news this week is single news. Okay. All right, guys. With that being said, then I'm going to bounce. I'm going to go see if I can figure out what the heck is going on with, with this system here and get it worked out for tomorrow. So I'll see you guys. I appreciate you guys being really active today and helping each other out inside of the Discord channel. Like I said, I'm bogged down doing some stuff for Nadex right now. I'm trying to get a bunch of their stuff and help them with some new webinars and stuff. So I've been absolutely slammed and I got to get things finished. So thank you guys so much. And I will touch base with you guys tomorrow. Keep posting trades and keep helping each other out. I really appreciate it, and take care.
You say